Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our fiduciary training this morning. My name is Jenna Witherby, and I will be conducting the training this morning. I am one of the advisors on the team at 401k Plan Professionals, and maybe you're already familiar with who we are and what we do, and you work with us already. But if not, we're a team of independent financial advisors, and we focus 100% of our time on company sponsored retirement plans. So every single day we're in it. We're working with 401k, 403b plan sponsors. And we started this fiduciary training series a couple years ago because we found that it was nice for somebody that is, say, new to a committee, new to working with a 401k, maybe new to working with us, or just wants to further their education, what it means to be a 401k plan fiduciary. And even though it's not a very exciting topic, it is a very important one. So thank you so much for being here and spending some time with me this morning. So this training is about 20 minutes. I'll leave time for questions at the end. And again, these trainings are held quarterly. The next one will be on May 16th. So towards the end of this presentation, I'll have a QR code that you can go to and sign up for the next one. A recording will be sent to you automatically as well, and pass it along to anybody that you think would find value in it. All previous trainings like this, webinars we've done, and our financial wellness series are all housed out on our website, 401kplanprofessionals.com, as well as on our YouTube channel. So we have a lot of great on-demand type content out there for you. And another thing you'll get in addition to the recording is after this, you'll receive a fiduciary guide and a checklist, as well as an optional class to go through and get a credential. So those are a few pieces you can keep in your fiduciary file. Our fiduciary training consists of these 7 different categories. And in the past, what I've done is in 30 minutes, I've gone through everything. But this year, we decided to break apart these 7 categories. And so today, I will just be going through 1 and 2. So your role as a fiduciary, and then basic ERISA fiduciary duties. And so just take a little bit deeper dive onto these topics. And so I definitely encourage you to attend or listen to the recording each quarter so then you can get the full training. If you do want a recording of the full thing, the full 7 steps, I certainly have those as well. All right, so let's dive in. Your role as a fiduciary. I actually first have a poll, or at least I thought I did. Maybe. Okay, here we go. First, I'm just going to have you rate your confidence when discussing who is a fiduciary and your own role and responsibilities. Okay, so you can take a moment here and answer this, please. I just like to get a gauge with where people are at. All right, so I'll share these results with you. So most people feel somewhat confident, which is great, and just a couple feeling very or not confident. So that's good. And I am glad that we have continued to do these fiduciary trainings. I find that, some people have attended multiple, maybe some just attend one time, but I think it's just the more that we can refresh and keep this information top of mind, the better. So let's go through what is a fiduciary? It's a person or organization who's required to act in the best interest of another party rather than their own financial interests. So here's some examples here on the screen. And when it comes to the 401k, you yourself may be a participant in your company's 401k, but at the same time, you are one of the administrators or a trustee or in some way you're a fiduciary of the plan. And so really with this, you have to take off your individual participant hat and you're putting on your fiduciary hat. So you are acting in the best interest of the whole plan, all of the participants as a collective group. And so You may fall in this category. My team definitely falls in this category. We are able to sign as a co-fiduciary with plan sponsors. Fiduciaries have important responsibilities in protecting retirement benefits. These are individuals who make or have the authority to make the decisions on behalf of the plan. So here's three different kind of qualifications to be a fiduciary. So, first, someone who exercises discretionary authority or control over the management of the plan or the management or disposition of its assets, provides investment advice for a fee. So, that would be our team, 401k plan professionals. This is typically an outside investment advisor. And then three, has any discretionary authority or responsibility in the administration of such plan. Here is a key. Your title within your organization does not matter to ERISA. In other words, in determining whether a person is a fiduciary or not, it's irrelevant whether you intend to act as a fiduciary, whether you know you are, whether your title says you are. It's really in how you act. It is more the roles that you play. And there are two types of fiduciaries. So there's named fiduciaries. This would be somebody who is specifically called out and identified in a plan document. So some examples here would be in the adoption agreement, the legal plan document. Perhaps it calls out one of the administrators or trustees of the plan. But on the right, we have unnamed fiduciaries as well. So this could be somebody who plays a role in managing the 401k, yet their name is not on any of the documentation, legal documents, things like that. A great example here is somebody from a payroll department. So even though they may not be named on anything, they certainly are a fiduciary if they are the ones that are logging in and submitting 401k contributions, or they are the one interfacing with your payroll provider and the 401k vendor. So things like that we see come up quite a bit. And some payroll providers, some 401k providers, when it comes to timely deposits of contributions, some even have trigger systems, which we really like. Say if you're late on submitting a contribution, you'll maybe get an email right away that says, hey, they know your cadence, they know your payroll cadence. And so if you're late, they will let you know or give you a warning. Or I've seen more providers that have like confirmations that go out. So just wanted to call some examples to light of what we're seeing in the day to day. And a key here, it's critically important to understand which activities are fiduciary activities and which are not. And so I have a list here of fiduciary versus non-fiduciary activities. So on the left, these would be fiduciary activities. So selecting your plan fiduciary. So the members of the committee, let's just say, who are selecting your advisors, selecting your plan service providers. So your record keeper, monitoring those outside service providers, those that provide investment advice for a fee. So again, there would be our team. And on the right, here's some non-fiduciary activities. So preparing communications, calculating benefits, determining whether or not someone's eligible based on what the adoption agreement says, establishing a plan in the first place, adopting an amendment to a plan, or say approving to terminate a plan. And in your fiduciary checklist that you'll receive after this call, that calls out some of these fiduciary decisions as well. So be able to make the distinction between business decisions and fiduciary decisions. So again, like I had mentioned, establishing a plan in the first place, deciding what kind of features do we want to have, what do we want our eligibility requirements to be, do we want to have a match, do we want to have certain distribution rules? Those are really just business decisions. But when you take steps to implement those decisions or hire companies to help you implement those decisions, then you're acting as a fiduciary. So, options for outsourcing. A lot of times, plan sponsors will decide to outsource certain pieces of administration or as much as possible when it comes to their retirement plan. So this would be things like your 401k record keeper. So certainly the providers we work with, just to name a few, we work with Empower, Fidelity, Vanguard, Principal. There's a lot of them out there, and they specialize in the record keeping of 401k plans. You can even go as far as to outsource approval of distributions, hardships, loans, quadros in the case of a divorce. You can outsource the administration duties, so the compliance testing and helping with compiling and filing the 5500. Sometimes your 401k provider will do that, or you could hire an outside third party administrator. Investment advisory services, again, that's where our team falls. So plan sponsors don't necessarily need to be the experts when it comes to a 401k, but you do want to align yourself with parties that are doing a good job. Okay, so second section is basic ERISA fiduciary duties. And you're going to hear me say some key concepts over and over again, but that's the point, is we really want to drill these things home. A fiduciary's performance of these legal duties will be measured in large part by the key concepts of loyalty and prudence. So loyalty, meaning fiduciaries act solely in the interests of the plan participants and beneficiaries for the exclusive purpose of providing benefits to them, and that the participants pay only reasonable plan expenses. I've talked on trainings in the past about these different lawsuits that have come up where groups of participants try to sue their employer and say these investment options are too expensive or the record keeping fees are too expensive. We take the fee benchmarking very seriously. So every single time we're meeting with our plan sponsors, we're not only calling out what the fees are, but we're benchmarking them, and we need a way to document that those fees are reasonable. And then prudence. ERISA requires that a fiduciary act with the care, skill, prudence, and diligence under the circumstances then prevailing that a prudent person acting in a like capacity. The prudent person rule is really the cornerstone of a fiduciary's duty under ERISA. So it's important to understand that the test for evaluating a fiduciary's prudence in plan administration or investments is primarily one of process. So you may have heard us say we have a process in place. We have a process in place. That is just really big when it comes to your fiduciary duties being evaluated. So you don't have to have hindsight and always choose the best performing funds. It's really a matter of documenting your process and being able to describe how you arrived at your decision at that time, whether there was reasonable basis for the decision that was made at that time. And not all decisions turn out to be right in the long run, and not all investments always perform how we want them to. And again, it's not that you're going to be held liable if a fund you chose a couple years ago ends up not being in the top quartile of its category. But again, it's documenting that process, having minutes, being able to describe the discussion points and what you looked at that point in time, and just really documenting every single thing. We do compile minutes during committee meetings. We put those together and we send them out to committee members, either right after the meeting for their review and or right before we meet again the next time. And this is just a really great way to document the decisions we made and also just kind of keep track of those follow-up items and things like that, always being able to look back. And if your plan requires an audit, your auditor will probably ask you for the minutes of your committee meetings. And if you happen to not be able to find them, always just reach out to us. And it's very simple for us to pull them from our file. Here you go. Here's the 2 committee meetings that we had in 2023, for example, and send them off. So we have copies of everything electronically. So still have a fiduciary file and do your best as well to have those kinds of things, but always lean on us. According to ERISA, basic fiduciary duties include, and it's kind of these 5 main categories. So, managing the plan with only the interests of the participants and their beneficiaries, keeping the plan expenses to a reasonable level, following the terms of the plan's governing document. So, are you doing what your adoption agreement says? Are you following what your summary plan description says in your day-to-day process, ensuring that the plan's investments are diversified, and then doing all this with care, skill, prudence, and diligence. Some plans with a board of directors may even go as far as have a committee charter in place. And this would basically be the board of directors specifying that this particular group, these committee members, have the authority to make decisions for the company and for the plan in regards to their fiduciary duties. So we have samples of committee charters if that's something. We don't see that often, but that's just kind of another layer that some organizations decide to tack on. I'm not going to go too far in depth on what exactly our committee meetings are composed of as far as the documentation. I will talk about that more in future fiduciary trainings, but here's just kind of high level. When we held committee meetings, what types of things you can expect. So an agenda, the date, the time, what we're going to be covering. Sometimes we'll call out who's going to be there, minutes again from the previous committee meeting. Some committees sign the minutes. We've heard from auditors that that's not necessarily, required, but just internally, sometimes committees decide to adopt that process. Typically, we have some sort of a plan review from your record keeper with different metrics on the plan. Enrollment, participation information, average deferral rates, cash flow, usage of certain investments or money types. So just more analytics on the back end. And an investment policy statement is an important document to have on file too. We don't necessarily look at that or re-sign it every single time we meet, but that's a nice document to have in place that covers that process that I'm talking about. So what would warrant adding a fund, what would warrant removing a fund, the different metrics that we look at when it comes to plan investments performance. Just really a document outlining our process that's not too strict, more just kind of a loose guideline. Investment analysis, of course, we come prepared with. If there's a fund that is on the watch list or is underperforming, we may show you alternatives in that category, taking a deeper dive and potentially making a change. Fee analysis, as I mentioned, it's really important to not only know what your fees are, but we also benchmark those every single meeting. And then we'll talk about a plan for education. And then we deliver on that. We work on the follow-up items. We schedule the employee meetings. We're working with the providers. Say we are negotiating on that plan fee with them, or we decided to make some investment changes. So we're making sure that those get implemented right away with the provider. So there's a lot of different things that get involved there. But that just gives you kind of a general outline. So again, you're going to be getting this checklist. I think this is nice too, just kind of grouping the different fiduciary training topics. Of course, today we focused on the first two. You also, I'll talk about that credential in a moment. I have one more poll here. Okay, so just curious if there's other topics that you want to learn more about. Some of these topics we've already had webinars on in the past, and so I can align you with those different tools that we have. And then some are kind of slated for the future. And so it's always nice to kind of get an idea for what topics people are wanting to learn more about. When you exit this training, by the way, a survey will come up, and so you can type in if there's additional topics, but I will share these results here. So pretty much across the board. Um, Thank you. This is helpful for us as we're planning more. Um, so some of these topics, like I said, we are conducting webinars um, in the near term, so in 2024. So I'll have a QR here in a moment so you can go to the registration page and get signed up. Everybody is invited if you're interested in doing this additional course to receive a credential. It's called Fiduciary Essentials for Defined Contribution Plans. There's a number of sessions and quizzes, and then there's a course assessment at the end, and you'll get a certificate. There's some other resources too that you'll get in addition. So, a plan audit checklist that's helpful if you require a plan audit. Course transcripts, sample plan administrator calendar with compliance dates. Those are always nice too to just kind of look at the year ahead. This is not required, it's optional. We foot the bill for it if you're interested in doing it. You're able to put in your name and email address in the survey afterwards. But here's more resources too. I had mentioned our website, 401kplanprofessionals.com. We have a news and education area, as well as our YouTube channel. And this holds all of our previous trainings, recordings. We have a really nice financial wellness series as well. So you can pass that along to anyone you think would find value in it. All of our webinars from 2023 are out there. You can see the variety of different things we covered, not just necessarily saving for retirement, engaging the millennial participant. We have a Social Security presentation every summer. I did a deep dive on our financial wellness series last September. Cybersecurity, a really good one was last November, anticipating the unexpected. So talking about estate planning and just being organized and having things in place for your family and loved ones. Here's our plan for 2024. We're talking about Medicare next month. We have our 11th annual Plan Sponsor Summit that's in person in Golden Valley, Minnesota. That's in April, raising financially aware kids. And you can see some of the other ones, but this will take you to register. Like I said, even if you can't hop on live, you're going to get the recording of everything. You can register here for our summit. It's a half day. It is jam-packed with great value add information for you as a plan sponsor. We always have really good food, good speakers. Our team speaks as well, but we also bring in experts from all over the industry. And so it's always a great morning, definitely well worth your time. And it's something that you can have in your fiduciary file. So thank you so much for joining this morning. I'll take some time here if there's any questions. I did have one that came in. Would an employee committee that recommends investment options be considered fiduciaries? Yeah, I mean, every time you're recommending investments or giving advice of some kind, that would be considered being a fiduciary. And a lot of times, committee members or HR team members, if they get questions from people on how should I invest my money, they'll say, just call Jenna and her team, contact 401k plan professionals, because they don't want to have anything be construed as giving investment advice. So they really lean on our team. And some HR people have even gone as far as asked for some of our business cards. So then when an employee does walk into their office and they have questions on that, they can just give them our card, or we can work with you to create, just a one pager that has our names, pictures, contact information. We've been doing more and more too with just less words, more pictures, QR codes, just keeping things really concise and simple, and making sure people just know they can take action. So yes, always send them to us and we can talk them through their different options. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you again so much for joining us this morning. Our next two webinars will be Medicare on March 14th, and then we'll have our part 2 of 3 fiduciary training on May 16th. Thank you so much for attending this morning. Really appreciate your time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.